All right, Wednesday, July 15th. In pre-market, we filled this gap that we had, this gap down, filled it in pre-market, and then on the 4 hour, our 2 a.m. candle. So this morning, 2 a.m., we filled this inefficiency right here from this bullish fair value gap, and from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. is when the next 4 hour candle finishes. We've swept the intermediate low, so the low of the prior candle, we swept it. Looks like a successful rejection for now. We still have 30 minutes left on the candle, so who knows, but candle body is in line with the close of the prior candle, of the prior bearish candle. So it looks like a decent rejection, but then again, we don't know. We could end up, flushing in the next 30 minutes. But on the 1 hour, you could see a bearish SMT divergence. So in relation to this 3 a.m. candle, ES has taken out the high. So ES is ascending while NQ is descending. So we have an SMT divergence. After filling this small gap, taking out that candle wick high, filling that small gap, and just recently a small test into this 1 hour gap. I'm not too pleased with how this candle has tested this. I think there's a decent chance that once market opens, we will retrace back into this confluence and then continue downside if that's what we're looking for, if that's what our daily bias is. But at the same time, we had a sweep of a 4 hour intermediate low. So zooming out, we're bullish, right? By sweeping that intermediate low. But that ties into my point of, if this bearish SMT is valid, if this test of this 1 hour bearish gap is valid, and the bias today is bearish, then this 4 hour candle could very easily in 30 minutes turn into a massive bearish candle, ultimately, potentially taking out this candle body wick. So that is something I could see happening. Market just opened. There's really two options here. If this sweep of this intermediate 4 hour low was valid, then I don't think we're looking to take out the low again to be bullish. I don't think we're going to do this again. I just don't think it's as likely. It's possible. It's for sure possible by taking out this candle body wick and then entering this 1 hour bullish fair value gap. It's possible. Or, on the 15-minute and 30-minute time frame, we've already kind of tested this bullish fair value gap, and this might be the long that we need to enter. But I don't feel comfortable entering long until I see a clear manipulation of the market. Every morning, without fail, AMD will carry out. Price will accumulate, then price will manipulate, then price will distribute. Accumulation can happen in the pre-market or anytime up until 10 a.m. Really, yesterday we were accumulating up until 10 a.m. Then accumulation is consolidation, right? Then price will want to manipulate the buy side or sell side of that accumulation in order to grab liquidity, and then we'll distribute in the same direction that we manipulated or the opposite direction. So that's what I'm looking for right now, is price to manipulate, right? Because this is somewhat of an accumulation. We could still have further manipulation. Manipulation is the kind of that thing, sorry, accumulation. We could have further accumulation. Accumulation is kind of that thing where it's like, you don't know what's happening until it has happened. You don't know prices accumulated till you just keep seeing price zigzag, and then you're like, okay, this is accumulation. Let me wait for the right time for price to take out the highs or take out the lows. And then based on what it does, if we've entered a key bearish confluence on taking out the highs or key bullish one on taking out the lows, we'll know how to enter our position that follows our daily bias. Now we're kind of waiting. Yeah. I think there's a decent chance that we'll have to wait till 10 a.m. to actually enter a trade, because I want to see this 4 hour candle finish. Right? I want to see if it's a successful sweep of this intermediate low with the candle body, closing above the candle body close of this one, falling in line. At the same time, I don't know, right? We do have an SMT divergence. ES is pushing. ES is pushing. Yeah, ES is pushing. I think it is possible for there to be an entry in here. I would need confirmation, like us inverting a 30-second, 1 minute, 2 minute bearish fair value gap. So if we were to have a bearish fair value gap here, if we have a bullish candle inverting it, I'd be open to taking longs. Because I wouldn't consider this candle body entering that 1 hour bearish as a proper entry. I can't consider it as a proper entry. Look at that wick. Barely entering this gap. That's not sufficient for me. So we're going to wait for an inverse of a bearish fair value gap. And I'm also curious to see where this SMT divergence goes because ES is still pushing. ES is close to taking out last week's high, which is up here. Yeah, it's close to taking out like this big drop right here, which also ends up being last week's high for ES. So ES is right around here in terms of price. So, I mean, look, there is a bearish SMT divergence for the pre-market candle, but we're still looking for confirmation at market open, right? There's one thing where you see an SMT divergence that was formed before market opened, and sure, you want to consider it, but it might not be enough. It might not be as influential as a higher volume, more liquidity scenario where we have an SMT, where we create one during New York open, right? So we're gonna have to wait. I'll look out for a potential entry here, but I don't see like price is pushing right now, but we don't have a bearish fair value gap that we're inverting, so I'm not gonna be fooled by that. What I think is possible is this was our manipulation. We manipulated this sell side liquidity right here, entered this 15-minute, 30-minute gap. Price will now retrace back up into this 1 hour bearish fair value gap. We'll have a bearish SMT, a 1 hour bearish fair value gap, and it'll be time for distribution, assuming that manipulation will have already occurred here, and then we can take a short entry and target these lows. That's something I think is possible, but we're gonna have to see how the 15-minute and 30-minute candle react over here. Yeah, we'll wait and I'll resume when I see price kind of fall to a key level. Okay. ES has taken out this high right here. Okay, so there's a Tuesday, July 14th, 8 a.m. high that for ES is right around here in relation to this key level. It's right here, and ES has taken it out. Now, this is what you call an SMT, fake out. It's kind of an illusion. It makes you think that there's a bearish SMT divergence when in reality there isn't. And what that means is this candle, this 9 a.m. candle, this structure right here on ES has taken out this 3 a.m. London high. It has taken out that London high. But still in the grand scheme of this high over here, both pairs have taken it out. And this is the higher resistance, longer wick high that both pairs have taken out. This you can't really consider as much of an SMT divergence. Let me give you an example. We're saying that there's an SMT divergence in relation to this London high because ES has taken it out and NQ hasn't, But what about in relation to this larger, longer wick high? Higher resistance high. Both pairs have taken this out. Both pairs are ascending. They're not out of sync, especially since neither have taken out this high over here. So there's no bearish SMT. I'm quite confident in that. What we do have now is, of course, price testing this 4-hour intermediate low, and then hopefully this 1-hour gap. And I want to see how price manipulates at this 1-hour gap, and then we could take a long from there. But yeah, so no, I don't believe that we have a bearish SMT divergence, because in relation to this high over here, both pairs have taken it out. This is kind of an illusion. This, even if it is an SMT, it could be an SMT to pull back price into a discount zone to then enter a long position, but it's not enough to drive price bearish for the rest of the day. I don't think so. Then again, we'll see how this 1-hour, 4-hour candle finishes. If it's like, if we close heavily bearish, then that could change the narrative. And if we kind of disrespect this gap here, then that could change things up, and then we might look for a short entry. But for now, I'm still bullish for my bias. Okay, this we enter that 1-hour bullish fair value gap right here. Now, honestly, there's a potential for us to inverse this 1 minute bearish gap right here. There's opportunity for us to do that. So I'm going to keep my eye out on that. If we have a candle body close above the open of this bearish candle, if we have a candle body close above it, I'd be comfortable taking a long position. 2-minute time frame is also finishing, so that's probably the time frame we'll have to trade it on, not the 1 minute. And potential for a 3-minute, no, not really. So we're gonna wait. We have we kind of have a setup waiting for us, but it all depends on if we reject off of this 1-hour gap or if we slam right through it. Because the 1-hour closes in 13 minutes, and it could look like a pretty high volume 1-hour candle. So we're gonna have to react fast. Okay. Here's what we're looking for if the narrative has changed from bullish to bearish, which there's a decent potential. The 1-hour finishes in 11 minutes. So does the 15-minute. Now, on the 15-minute, we inversed this bullish fair value gap, which could be a successful and valid inverse, considering that we barely entered this 1-hour bearish gap, and there is a potential SMT divergence. Even though I don't love it, even though it's not in relation to this high here, it is kind of an internal SMT divergence, which could be used for a pullback or a longer move. I'm not going to worry too much about it, but price is showing that ES has taken out this high, so I'll leave it at that. A test of this 1-hour bearish gap, and 15-minute has inversed this bullish fair value gap, proving the strength of this bullish fair value gap to be weak, right? There's no strength. So if the 15-minute finishes in 11 minutes, the 1-hour finishes in 11 minutes, and this 15-minute kind of slams right through this bullish fair value gap right here, it proves it invalid, then I'd be looking for a retracement into this 15-minute gap. Ideally, I'm trying to look for a breaker block candle. You see this massive candle here is the breaker block candle. So yeah, a retracement, ideally pulling back up into this key level right here, and then taking a short at a 30-second, a 1-minute inverse of a bullish gap. So that's us kind of adapting to what the market is giving us right now, and that's a whole lot of bearish pressure. So I'm not worried. Yeah, because if the 1-hour finishes full candle body, we're going to have to look for a retracement, because this is price manipulating, by the way. We still need to wait for it to distribute. And the break between manipulation and distribution, there's something that happens in between which allows retail traders to enter the trade. And that is kind of what we're waiting for now. Yeah, so look, we're proving this gap to be absolutely invalid. Sure, we have 9 minutes left, but it doesn't look that promising. So let's wait for that, for 10 a.m. to hit, and then we'll know how to take our trade from there. Okay, a minute left till 10 a.m. The way I'll know if we have a proper rejection of this 1-hour gap is if this candle body on this 1-hour candle closes above the wick of the prior candle. If we don't close above the wick of the prior candle, then I'm looking for a 15-minute retracement, short entry somewhere up here. If we successfully reject, if candle body closes above in the next 50 seconds, which is pretty unlikely, then I will look for a long position off of us inverting a low time frame bearish fair value gap. But since we're going to close below, I'm going to keep an eye out for us entering this gap. And just for the sake of, yeah, I'm going to use Fibonacci tool real quick to see how deep of a retracement we can hope for and what the golden zone for that retracement would be. Golden zone is right there. Now let's see, where's the Fibonacci 50% and 61.8% range? That's right above here. Okay, so keep an eye out for that, and for sure entering shorts. For sure entering shorts. It is tricky though, because the candle body, although it didn't close like within the wick of the prior candle, it did successfully reject. It closed within this gap right here, so that makes it a little difficult. I think there's a chance that we might want to come up here and then pull down. I think there's a little bit of a chance for that. Not too sure. We're gonna have to. What's gonna tell us now what trade to take is I'm gonna have to look for confirmations on the buy side or sell side. I'm gonna have to look for us inverting a bearish gap and a bullish gap and see which one happens first successfully. Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna wait and resume once I have that confirmation. Okay. So one thing I kind of failed to notice was we have a 5-minute bullish SMT. Same thing, 15-minute bullish. 1 hour of this candle took out the prior candle on NQ, but it did not do that on ES. ES is still trading at, ES only tested this gap and then continued bullish. So ES is very clearly bullish. Assuming that my original theory of this being the original SMT divergence and both pairs being in sync and this one being a fake out, assuming that's true and that price wants to retrace back into this bearish gap because we didn't really test it, I think then we could take longs because this looks like a nice. This looks like we respected that gap pretty well. I'm looking for a 5-minute inverse of a gap, and I guess it was that candle. So if we retrace back into that key level, like anywhere into really this zone right here, I would be willing to take longs. Otherwise, I'm okay with missing out on that. Actually, we have a nice candle body right there. Let's see how we react to it and what our stop loss would be. Let's say we enter right around here. Yeah, we could do 5 micros if it's that big. I think I'm comfortable with 3 micros, and then I could always add positions if I need to. I want to see how we fully react to this candle body right here. If we slam right through it, that could not be good news. Because then that would be an inverse of a bullish gap within this 15-minute bearish fair value gap. So then I might not be totally comfortable with that. Especially since we have this 4-hour gap here that we're kind of just disrespecting. We're not really respecting it. Candle body kind of slamming right through. Did not close below it, which is, I guess, one thing, but if we invert this candle on the 30-second, then I'm comfortable in taking my shorts. So then I would have my stop loss probably this right here. Yeah, I could do 5 micros, but instead I'll do 4. Let's see. Yeah, so highest fair value gap on this is the 1 minute. Nice rejection. Solid rejection. Still looking for a 30-second inverse. It'd have to be these candles right here then. $15-minute looks like it's trying to respect that gap right there. Again, just because we see a bullish SMT divergence here, like I've mentioned, that doesn't mean it's going to drive price in its entirety and shift the direction of the market. Like, just because we see a bullish SMT doesn't mean we're bullish. It could mean that we're retracing into a discount zone for then price to continue in the dominant direction. That could be bearish, right? Especially since I noticed the candle body did not close within the wick of the prior. So it's very possible. It's very possible. I am looking for us to inverse a gap though, and I don't see a gap that we could inverse yet. It has to be this 1 minute right there. So in that case, if that in 35 seconds, if we end up closing that gap, I'd want it to close below this candle as well. Yeah, 71 times 2 is 140. 500 divided by 140 is a little bit under 4. So we're going to start with 3 micros, then we could add a position if we retrace a little. Okay. I'd have to wait for this candle for confirmation, but the prior candle, 30-second, did not close fully below the open of this bearish candle, this bullish candle. Otherwise, I would have entered longs, but since we didn't do that, I'm gonna have to wait for this candle to finish. And yeah, we're gonna do 3 micros. 7, 6, 5, 4. As long as candle body closes.
Order filled.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. Stop loss 500 up here, and we're gonna target a 1-to-1 ratio. Right there. Successfully inversing that bullish gap. Rejecting off of that 15-minute bearish fair value gap. SMT divergence prior to it, allowing price to drive up into the discount zone. And, looks pretty good to me. Even that 15-minute candle looks beautiful. No wick on the close. Full selling pressure. Full selling pressure. Just trying to make it exactly 5. That's good enough. So we have a 1-to-1 ratio. And then I'll wait until we hit my TP or stop loss. Order filled. Perfect 1-to-1 ratio trade. Second we entered, saw that 15-minute candle body on that bearish close with no wick, confirming to me that we had a proper test of that 15-minute bearish fair value gap. The SMT divergence on the prior candle was simply used to pull price back into a discount zone, which is exactly what we did. And yeah, I guess on the 1 hour, seeing this 1 hour candle right here, this 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. candle, seeing the candle body close below the wick of the prior candle proved to me that although the candle body closed within this gap right here, it wasn't enough resistance for the candle body to close below the wick of the prior candle, which is important, which is a lot of times what happens at the very least, which tells retail traders that there's a clear rejection. If not that, a lot of times what you'll see is you'll see the candle body of this line up with the candle body of the prior candle, showing a heavy rejection, but at the very least, a candle body closing within the wick of the prior, but that didn't even happen. So that kind of confirmed to me that the selling pressure is a little too high. Not only that, we filled the gap in pre-market, had a bearish SMT divergence, 15-minute retracement entry, and a 1-minute inverse fair value gap entry on the candle body close. So the candle body close was for this candle right here. Entered the second we were able to fully inverse that bullish gap with a bearish candle, which is why I entered right here. 1-to-1, stop loss up here, take profit down here. And we're still pushing. I think there's a decent chance that we end up taking out all of this ascending sell side liquidity as well, and potentially even previous day low. But good 1-to-1 trade.